Electric cars, once the dream of idealists, engineers, and a few overfunded showmen. For every Tesla that roared out of Silicon Valley, dozens of other startups burned through cash, promise, and sometimes entire reputations. In this video, we count down 10 companies that tried to build electric cars and, spectacularly, sometimes painfully, failed. Founders, founding years, where they fell, and where the pieces are now. Buckle up. 1. Fisker Automotive. Henrik Fisker, founded 2007. Henrik Fisker, a celebrity car designer who'd stylized cars for Aston Martin, launched Fisker Automotive in 2007 with a glamorous plug-in hybrid, the Karma. The car looked stunning, but production delays, battery supplier problems, and cash problems shut sales down by 2012. Assets were eventually sold to Wanxiang, and the original Fisker Automotive empire collapsed. Later efforts by Henrik, a separate company also called Fisker Incorporated, also hit the skids, and the Fisker Group declared bankruptcy in 2024. Today, the name lives on in headlines, unsold inventories, and a cautionary brochure on how hard car manufacturing really is. Interesting fact, Fisker's Karma was widely praised for design, but the story shows beautiful products don't guarantee scalable production. 2. Better Place, Shai Agassi, founded 2007 but public pitched 2008. Better Place wasn't a car company so much as a bet on a whole new fuel system. Founder Shai Agassi proposed networks of battery swap stations so drivers could refuel an electric car in minutes. Launched with massive fanfare around 2007 to 2008, Better Place raised huge sums, built swap stations in Israel and Denmark, and still failed to reach scale. Misplaced forecasts, enormous infrastructure costs, and low customer uptake sank the company. It filed for bankruptcy in 2013. Agassi left in 2012 and has largely kept a lower profile since, resurfacing in recent years in other auto tech roles. He's been tied to LiDAR startup Nikola Optics and similar projects. Better Place is now a celebrated case study in audacious vision plus execution risks. Interesting fact, Better Place raised hundreds of millions but deployed well under the number of cars investors expected. 3. Coda Automotive. Kevin Chinger, founded 2009. Coda Automotive set out to make an affordable, practical electric sedan and leaned heavily on battery tech. Founded in 2009 by Kevin Chinger and team, the Coda sedan made a brief California appearance, then flopped. With limited range, lackluster design, and poor sales, only a few dozen to a few hundred units sold. Coda filed for bankruptcy in 2013 and pivoted the battery business away from cars. Kevin Chinger went on into advanced manufacturing and metal 3D printing ventures, including Divergent Technologies, applying lessons from the Coda crash. Interesting fact, Coda's fate underlines that batteries alone don't sell cars. You still need product, brand, and distribution. 4. Aptera, original company. Steve Fambro and Chris Anthony, founded mid-2000s. Aptera is a weird one. A three-wheeled, ultra-aerodynamic EV that promised absurd efficiency. The original Aptera launched around 2006 to 2009, raised early money in pre-orders, then ran out of cash and liquidated in 2011. The founders were ousted during a drama-filled boardroom period before the collapse. Fun twist. The Aptera name has since been revived by new teams, but the original company collapsed. Interesting fact, the original Aptera's promised MPG equivalent numbers were headline-grabbing, but design trade-offs and funding failure killed it before mass production. 5. Bright Automotive. John E. Waters, founded 2008. Bright Automotive spun out of the Rocky Mountain Institute in 2008 with a pragmatic aim. Build efficient plug-in hybrids for fleets, think vans and work vehicles, and cut fuel costs. Despite promising prototypes and public sector interest, Bright never got the DOE loan it needed and closed in 2012. The Bright story is less scandal, more mission thwarted by capital markets and timing. Interesting fact, Bright designed the idea van with fleets in mind, a boring market that actually needed the tech, but it still couldn't make the economics work to scale. 6. Faraday Future, Shai, founded 2014. Faraday Future arrived with tabloid-friendly drama, flashy concept cars, and promises of a Chinese-backed rival to Tesla. Founded in 2014 by Chinese entrepreneur Shai, Faraday repeatedly missed deliverables, burned investor cash, and faced governance and funding problems for years. By 2023 to 2025, it had delivered only tiny numbers of cars and been forced to pivot repeatedly, while founder Shai has intermittently reappeared in company leadership dramas. Faraday's story is a cautionary tale about ambitious tech plus unstable finances in automotive. Interesting fact, Faraday actually built prototypes and started tiny deliveries, but the company's scale never matched the hype. Seven. Dyson, the automotive project, James Dyson, project 2016 to 2019. Imagine vacuum king James Dyson building a premium electric SUV. He put serious money into it and spent years hiring engineers. But in October 2019, Dyson abruptly canceled the project after spending roughly £500 million and concluding the vehicle wouldn't be commercially viable.
This is the first whole car that we made. It had a lot of interesting features. For example, no door handles. You slipped your hand under here to open the door. It's got the huge wheels. The reason for having big wheels is that you get lower rolling resistance and greater comfort.
Dyson pivoted the tech and talent back into other R&D instead of launching a car. But the aborted project remains one of the biggest what-ifs in EV history. Interesting fact, Dyson invested heavily in battery tech and even bought battery startups, but concluded the car would require a price and scale that didn't make sense.
It's a brilliant car, very special features, by a very intelligent, hard-working team. For Dyson, in the present time, it just simply wasn't commercially viable. So it's a great shame. It's probably the best way of putting it.
8. Think Global, Think. Origins 1991. Pivco/Think founders. Think, often styled Think City, was one of the earliest modern EV pioneers, starting as Pivco and later rebranded. The company's roots go back to 1991, and over the next 2 decades it was bought, sold, and restructured multiple times, including a period when Ford held a big stake. Think produced a few thousand city EVs, but after repeated funding crises, it finally went bankrupt around 2011. Its tale shows the long slog of EV adoption. Sometimes the market simply isn't ready. Interesting fact, Think City was one of only a handful of crash-tested, highway-capable EVs in the 2000s era. 9. Sono Motors. Lauren Hahn, Jonah Christians, founded 2016. Sono Motors, a German startup founded in 2016, tried to make the Shai, an affordable car with solar panels embedded in body panels. After crowdfunding, talk of tens of thousands of reservations, and frantic efforts to raise production capital, Sono abandoned the Shai program in 2023 and pivoted to licensing its solar technology and selling panels for commercial and retrofit projects. The car dream dimmed, but the solar IP found a new life. Interesting fact, Sono licensed its solar modules for buses and trucks while trying, and ultimately failing, to bring its own car to market. 10. Nikola. Trevor Milton, founded 2014. Nikola aimed at hydrogen and battery electric trucks and exploded onto public markets with a near $30 billion paper valuation, until short seller reports alleged deception. Founder Trevor Milton left in 2020 amid fraud allegations. The company delivered very few trucks, faced lawsuits, had criminal charges against Milton, and had mounting operational losses. Nikola filed for bankruptcy in 2025. Milton was criminally convicted earlier, but later received a presidential pardon in 2025, a chapter that shows how hype, PR, and reality can violently diverge in large public markets. Interesting fact, Nikola's peak valuation briefly rivaled legacy car makers on paper, even though production numbers were tiny compared with promises.
It's cutting edge equipment, and it's a great vehicle on the road.
So what's the through line? These companies weren't always failures of vision. More often, they were failures of timing, manufacturing scale, capital structure, and execution. Building cars is capital intensive, low margin, and unforgiving, and the electric revolution only made that more visible. Some founders resurfaced in other auto tech corners, others faded. A few names like Aptera even get second act. But every one of these stories left us with lessons about hype versus hard engineering, about infrastructure, and about where investors and governments should place their bets next. If you like this video, hit subscribe for more deep dives into the weird, wonderful, and sometimes disastrous history of tech and innovations. Drop a comment. Which of these stories surprised you most? Drop it in the comments.